Happening now on Grid tonight, Formula 2 driver Guanyu Zhou becomes the first Chinese driver to race in Formula 1, starting next year with Alfa Romeo Racing. So that raises the question, where in the world is Antonio Giovinazzi headed? Ed Carpenter Racing, whilst a major sponsor, what does it mean for the future of the number 20 Chevrolet? Matt White's here for your weekly GRID World Motorsport League update as we crown a provisional champion. Roush Racing has a new name. Will Brad Keselowski's addition to the organization take Roush back to its glory years? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, and with me as always, our wonderful, knowledgeable supercars expert, Mr. Adam Lemerise. Please feel free to comment in the chat room below, ask any questions, and engage in the discussion. So with that said, let's kick off tonight's show discussing the final piece of the puzzle to complete the 2022 Formula One grid. With Andretti Autosport failing to purchase Alfa Romeo Racing, this paved the way for Chinese Formula 2 competitor Guanyu Zhou to take the final Formula 1 seat for 2022. Zhou's going to line up alongside Valtteri Bottas at Alfa Romeo. Bottas bringing all the experience he gained at Mercedes as a veteran of the sport. Zhou may not receive the same praise as fellow Formula 2 rivals such as Oscar Piastri or Théo Pourchaire, but he's certainly a talented driver who is definitely capable of finding success in Formula 1 despite bringing lots of funding to secure this particular seat. Will 2022 be a year for Zhou to show he was the right driver for the seat instead of Piastri, Pourchaire, or even IndyCar star Colton Herta? Or could the mindset of trying to prove something be a major distraction for a Formula One rookie?
First of all, I can say congratulations, Guanyu Zhou. You get to compete in Formula One and race against names like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo, and many more. You get a chance to go race around the world and go to tracks you've probably never been to before. And I think it's going to be really a good experience for Guanyu Zhou next year. I think that even though he isn't an Alfa Romeo, I think he will be competitive. I think it'll be hard to get into the points since we're going to probably have some battles between Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren. But I think Guanyu Zhou is a good fit alongside Valtteri Bottas. I think it'll be really cool to see how he does next year, and good luck to him next year in Formula One and down the road.
Yeah, I think the addition of Valtteri Bottas there is going to be really huge for Alfa Romeo. I think it's really smart to have a veteran of the sport and then a rookie fresh out of Formula 2. Better than having two rookies straight out of Formula 2 like we see at Haas F1 this year. Mick Schumacher, Nikita Mazepin, not a lot of experience currently in the process of gaining that. And it can be really hard when you have two rookie drivers coming out of Formula 2 instead of one rookie and a veteran to lead the team. So I definitely think that Valtteri's experience he gained working at a top tier organization like Mercedes is really going to help the team move forward. As for fighting for points next year, I think it's too soon to tell because we don't know how the regulation is going to shake up the running order. I still expect to see the same competitors up front. Still expect to see Red Bull, Mercedes fighting at the front of the field. Maybe Ferrari and McLaren will close the gap to them, get a little bit closer. And who knows what's going to happen in the midfield next season? We could see a team who's currently running strong in the midfield this year come in 2022 and be running at the back of the field, and we can see someone who's running towards the back jump into the midfield. So it's really unpredictable what these new regulations are going to do next year. But I do think that Guanyu just needs to focus on doing his own thing, because if you're going out there trying to prove that I was the right driver for this seat, I deserve this more than Oscar Piastri. I deserve this more than Théo Pourchaire. I deserve this more than Colton Herta. If you're out there trying to prove something to people, you can definitely get distracted. So I think the best advice to him is just focus on being the best Formula One driver that you can be, because he's shown in Formula 2 and coming up in the junior racing categories that he's more than capable of finding success in Formula One. And Zhou's making a bit of history, becoming the first Chinese Formula One driver in history. And he feels like making it to the pinnacle of motorsport can help pave a way for others in Chinese auto racing. While Formula One won't be visiting Shanghai next year due to the pandemic, Formula One did extend its contract with the Chinese Grand Prix through 2025. If the current pandemic situation improves, don't be surprised to see the race return as soon as 2023. Adam, can you imagine the scenes in Shanghai in 2023, assuming Zhou is still on the grid? And were you surprised to learn that we've never had a Chinese Formula One driver before Zhou?
Yeah, I was surprised. You think about Formula One's history and all the countries that have represented Formula One. Surprisingly, we've never seen a Chinese driver. I think it's going to be really cool to see a driver from that country compete in Formula One. And if Guanyu Zhou is still around, if when Formula One goes back to Shanghai, I think the crowds are going to be absolutely fantastic because they'll be pulling they'll be pulling for their man Guanyu Zhou to do excuse me to do outstanding and well in front of his home country fans. I think it's going to be a sight that Guanyu Zhou will remember for a long, long time to come. And who knows if Guanyu Zhou even were to get in the points at Shanghai, yeah, the crowds would probably remember that race for a long, long time to come.
Yes, and I'm sure if Joe does score points in Shanghai whenever the race returns, you probably think he won the race and not the actual race winner because those fans are going to be crazy. I know Chinese race fans have been waiting for a Formula One driver from their country, from their homeland, to represent them for a very, very long time. And Guanyu Zhou is definitely going to make that happen. And it's really going to be exciting to see where Formula One goes in terms of China and the sports growth and Chinese auto racing and all of that. Definitely think it's a great time to be a motorsports fan in general. With Joe taking the final Formula One seat, replacing Antonio Giovinazzi, who'll be out of Formula One at the end of the year. Looking at Antonio Giovinazzi's junior career, there were definitely a lot of expectations for the driver. Some fans have nicknamed Italian Jesus because of his long hair. He won multiple races in FIA Formula 3 Europe, finished second in that championship in 2015. In the same year, he finished fourth in the Macau Grand Prix. 2016, he moved up to GP2, had a strong season, 5 wins, second in the GP2 championship, 8 points behind current AlphaTauri F1 driver Pierre Gasly. In his only 3 full seasons in Formula One, he constantly got beat over and over again by his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, you can only do so much in the current Alfa Romeo right now, but you think he could have at least been a little bit more competitive against his older teammate. And in this Twitter post right here, Giovinazzi talked about the parts of Formula One that makes drivers all over the world dream of becoming a Formula One driver. The emotion, the talent, cars, risk, speed, all all of that right there. But then he talks about the business side of Formula One being ruthless as quote unquote money rules, like referring to losing his ride to the significant funding Guanyu Zhou brought to replace him. And Giovinazzi is known as a driver who didn't make it because of money, but due to the talent he possessed, as we all saw him perform at a high level on the road to Formula One. And his money rules comments reminds me of the time when Lewis Hamilton said, "Cash is king." At the end of the day, how will Antonio Giovinazzi be remembered in Formula One? Does his money rules comment suggest that he's bitter about losing his Alfa Romeo seat?
Well, that's a hard question to say. But I think Antonio Giovinazzi, you know, he did the best he could in Formula One. Wasn't really competitive at all. But now he's going to go to Formula E with Dragon Speed Racing. So we'll see how he does there next year. And who knows, maybe if something develops down the road, we could see Antonio Giovinazzi back in Formula One in due time. But I think it's going to be interesting to see when he comes back and who he drives for.
As of right now, not really sure if he'll have options to return to Formula One right now. But as you know, anything can happen in the upcoming years ahead. Something a seat could potentially open up. Remember when Alex Albon lost his Red Bull seat to Sergio Perez at the end of last year? We all thought Alex Albon's Formula One career was probably over and that he'd never come back. And then, to our surprise, he's going to be racing alongside Nicholas Latifi at Williams next year. So it's certainly possible that the curtain hasn't fallen on Antonio Giovinazzi's Formula One career yet. But at the end of the day, if this is indeed it for Giovinazzi in Formula One, then looking at everything he accomplished in his junior career, I remember when he was racing in GP2 and all of that, and a lot of people thought that he was going to be one of the next great stars in Formula One from Italy. But unfortunately, it didn't really turn out that way. Always got defeated by Kimi Raikkonen in the intra-team battles. All of that. Never put together any dazzling performances that just make you say, "Wow, that is so impressive." So I definitely think that, considering all circumstances, he really didn't live up to the potential. And as for the money rules comment, like you said, I can't really say for sure if he's bitter, but I'm positive that he's definitely heartbroken. I mean, who wouldn't be heartbroken when you find out you lose your Formula One ride because you worked so hard to get to the highest level of motorsport in the entire world, and then it's over just like that. So I can definitely understand the wide range of emotion that comes with losing your Formula One ride. And after we learned that he lost his seat, it was announced that he'll switch to FIA Formula E next year, racing for Dragon Penske Autosport as Sergio Steadicamera's teammate. The Dragon Penske operation finished 11th last year in the team's championship, so they have a ways to go to become more competitive this upcoming season. Also, sports car racing could be a potential option for Giovinazzi. He's competed in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the past with the AF Corsa Ferrari Factory GT Pro Team, and we know that Prancing Horse has a Le Mans hypercar program in the works. With the less pressure of racing in Formula E, do you believe Giovinazzi can find success in the electric racing series? Also, assuming that he maintains ties to Ferrari, could he also be in a mix for a future LMHC?
I believe Valtteri Giovinazzi is going to be really successful in Formula E next year. I know that there's a lot of great talent there in that series. So I believe it will be a battle for him. But I believe he could come out at least with some top 10 to top 15 finishes. And you're mentioning for our LMH program, yeah, I think we could see him in a Le Mans hypercar down the road. I think it'd be kind of cool to see him go back to Le Mans and compete for the prancing horse. And who knows who could be potentially the other drivers that Ferrari has in their LMH program. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Antonio Giovinazzi next year in Formula E.
I think Formula E will be great for him. Yeah, because obviously less pressure competing at championship than Formula One. So maybe he can get back to what he was doing in his junior racing career when he was having fun, going out there, being competitive, having a chance to win races. Although as I mentioned, Dragon finished 11th last year in the team championship Formula E. So it might be an uphill challenge for Giovinazzi, but we'll see what type of updates Dragon made on their chassis over the offseason as we have Formula E coming up in the middle of January to start their 2022 racing season. And I actually saw some of the comments from current Formula E drivers on Antonio Giovinazzi's Instagram account, and they were congratulating him on a move, and a lot of them were telling him that Antonio, you're going to have a lot of fun racing in Formula E, and after all the pressures that comes with racing in Formula One, if Formula E is going to bring him fun, then I certainly think that's certainly the right move for him now. And I mentioned he also raced at Le Mans a couple of years ago in the factory Ferrari, ran extremely well, looked really good in the sports cars, and I certainly think if he maintains the good relationship with Scuderia Ferrari, he could potentially put himself in the mix to go race for the overall win at Le Mans and other races around the world, like the Rolex 24, Ferrari the Sebring, Petit Le Mans, and IMSA as well, if Ferrari decides to do a program over here stateside. So I definitely think if Formula One is over for Antonio Giovinazzi, he'll have a lot of options moving forward, whether it's Formula E, IndyCar, or going for overall wins, checking off Crown Jewel sports car racing events.
I think Antonio Giovinazzi is going to be really good in the Formula E World Championship next year. And moving on to NASCAR, last night the Busch family shared some wonderful news from across with the world. The last several years, Kyle Busch and his wife Samantha have struggled with infertility. Despite their uphill battle, Kyle and Samantha wanted to have a kid. They were blessed with a son, Brixton Busch, and wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps. And to let you viewers know, Brixton Busch is really good. He's competed in go-karts all across the country. So give it down the road. I think we will see Brixton Busch compete in the NASCAR Cup Series. So maybe one day Kyle will get a chance to race his son. I think that'd be kind of cool. Since then, Kyle and Samantha wanted to have another kid, giving Brixton a little sister. Once again, lots of challenges. The Bushes have experienced a miscarriage and embryo transfer that didn't work out. But they kept trying to give Brixton a little sister. Last night, they posted a video announcing that their baby girl would be here in May of 2022 through a surrogate. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the video, I highly encourage you to go online to Kyle Busch's Twitter account and Samantha Busch's Instagram account. It's a really sweet video. So it about made me cry inside. Anyway, the couple started a foundation called the Bundle of Joy to support families or couples battling infertility. Kyle and Samantha deserve a lot of credit for showing courage and strength, for being open and honest about their painful journey and experience with the world, plus giving back to the Bundle of Joy and sharing the light on infertility, something couples all over the world experience. On behalf of everyone here at GRID Network, we want to say congratulations, Kyle, Samantha, and Brixton Busch. We're all so happy for you. And now, here's Kobe with some news from the NTT IndyCar Series.
First reported by David Malsher Lopez from motorsport.com, the U.S. Air Force has ended its partnership with Ed Carpenter Racing's number 20 Chevrolet. Photo taken by Joe Skabinski from IndyCar Media. For the last few years, the U.S. Air Force has sponsored Connor Daly, but their departure from IndyCar leaves the future of the 20 seat uncertain. Carpenter is still expected to continue in the car on the oval track, so that he'll need to secure new sponsorship for a driver on the road and street courses. Carpenter told motorsport.com that Oliver Askew is no longer in the mix for the seat, but Daly and Ryan Hunter-Reay, who tested for the team at Barber Motorsport Park, remain potential options. And with the season starting earlier than normal at the end of February 2022, is this the worst possible timing for Ed Carpenter to learn that the U.S. Air Force sponsorship will not return?
Yeah, and I feel so sorry for Ed Carpenter Racing. We've seen what they've done this year in the NTT IndyCar Series, and I hope that they can find sponsorship real soon. You know, like you mentioned, Kobe, the season starts in February with the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. I know it's almost time for the holidays, but I believe Ed Carpenter Racing is going to have to put all the chips in the pot and go secure a sponsorship. Really devastating news for that team in general. So hopefully they can find a new sponsor so they can compete in the NTT IndyCar series down the road.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is really bad timing for Ed Carpenter Racing. Usually, deals for next year start several months ago. So to hear this right before Thanksgiving, right before the holidays, and with the season starting at the end of February, oh boy, it's definitely going to be a crunch for them to try to secure the sponsorship. I mean, there's always a driver out there with funding, so it's possible that he'll be able to fill that seat in time and get the sponsorship necessary for the road and street course program, and also for that third seat in the 2022 Indy 500. So it's definitely possible that Ed Carpenter Racing can find out exactly what he needs. So definitely not time for Ed Carpenter to panic at all. But as we know, motorsport is a business, and like Antonio Giovinazzi said in his post, money rules, and the same thing applies here. And in honor of Cam Newton, my favorite NFL player, returning to the Carolina Panthers, he once said a famous quote. They don't make band-aids for feelings. As tough as that is to hear, that's how it goes in the motorsports business world, or any industry, any business in general. They definitely don't make a band-aid for villains. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what you accomplished in the past or anything like that. But when a situation comes, when the time is up, your time is up, and you just have to just move. You just have to swallow your pride and move on to the next opportunity. And the driver who's been driving for Ed Carpenter Race on the road and street courses and Indy 500 last couple of years, Connor Daly, he's still working hard to stay in IndyCar, but he realizes that it's best to keep his other options available. And he told Marshall Pruitt from Racers.com there's a possibility of him racing in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series full time next year alongside an Indy 500 program. In the last 2 years, Daly made two Truck Series starts. Both happened at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Driving for Nice Motorsports, Daly makes it clear he's a big NASCAR fan, but he has limited experience in stock car racing. Adam, how big of a deal would it be for NASCAR to get a personality like Connor Daly in the Truck Series garage on a full time basis? And do you think he's performed well enough to deserve another opportunity to race in the NTT IndyCar Series?
Yeah, I think Connor Daly. I have a lot of respect for Connor Daly. In the NTT IndyCar Series, and if Connor Daly were to move up to the Camping World Truck Series next year, I think it'd be kind of cool, to see someone from IndyCar going from uh, going from a Formula car to a full-bodied stock car or truck. I think he would do really well. Hey, could Connor Daly win? Maybe, possibility. But overall, I think it'd be kind of cool to see Connor Daly compete in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series next year. And if that don't happen, I hope Connor Daly can find the ride in the NTT IndyCar Series. He's a well-deserved driver, and he deserves a ride somewhere next season.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. Connor Daly definitely deserves a ride somewhere next season, whether it's in IndyCar or NASCAR. And I'd really like to see what he can do in competitive equipment in NASCAR. And Adam, you say you think a possibility if he does decide to race in NASCAR next year that he could potentially win. I think it's really going to come down to the level of equipment that he's in. If he's in top tier equipment, as he gets more laps, it's certainly a possibility. Plus, having Daytona and Talladega on the schedule certainly doesn't hurt because anybody can win at those tracks, as we saw at Talladega this past fall with Tate Fogelman scoring a big upset victory for the underdogs. So it's certainly possible. Connor Daly, Daytona, Talladega, great opportunity to win at those tracks. But I think it would be a huge deal for NASCAR if they're able to get his big personality to join the sport, because we all know Connor Daly has quite a sense of humor, quite a personality, and NASCAR really likes personalities. As for another shot at IndyCar, I think it definitely, at the very least, deserves another shot to go out there and get another opportunity to go win the Indy 500. As we saw this year, he took the lead at the Indy 500, and the crowd in Indiana, they went wild for the Noblesville native. You would have thought Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the lead at Daytona and Talladega based on how loud those fans were screaming. It was such an amazing atmosphere to see everyone standing up on their feet and cheering for Connor Daly. So at the very least, if his full time IndyCar career is over, they're going to have to try to find a way to bring him back to the speedway because that hometown crowd loves him and they want to see Connor Daly racing at the speedway for many years to come. And since there's not as many races on the Truck Series schedule, he could run for a championship in the Truck Series and also and put all of his focus on Indy during the month of May as well. And there won't be any major conflict. So that would definitely be the perfect storm for Daly. We do have a comment in the chat room from Masterbot saying that Colton Herta was in the mix for the Alfa Romeo seat. And Masterbots, you're absolutely right. Colton Herta was in the mix for the Alfa Romeo seat. But unfortunately, at the last minute, the Andretti Autosport deal to buy that Formula One team Alfa Romeo Racing fell apart completely. So Colton Herta is going to be an IndyCar driver in 2022. As for his future Formula One prospects, we'll have to wait and see where his career takes him. And next, more news from NASCAR. After attempting to make this year's Daytona 500, but fell into qualify because of a crash in his dual race, Noah Gragson will get another shot to make his NASCAR Cup Series debut. Barrett Motorsports announced Gragson will drive the number 62 Chevrolet as an open team, trying to make the 2022 Daytona 500. The graphic you see on the screen, courtesy of that team. Team founder Mark Beard sadly passed away earlier this year, but his family is continuing to run the team and let it live on in his memory. In 2021, we only saw Beard Motorsports attempt the Daytona 500 and no other races. The team traditionally runs the 4 super speedway races every year at Daytona and Talladega, with NASCAR only having practice and qualifying sessions at limited events. Beard didn't have a chance to make the field at other scheduled races, so they shut down the 2021 program to put all their focus on 2022 and the next gen car. And Beard has maintained the alliance with Richard Childress Racing, Chevrolet, and the driver who previously raced this car for them, Brendan Gaudin, who is now serving as the team's vice president of racing operations. Next, here's Matt White for a GRID World Motorsport League update.
Hi everybody, Matt White here from the GRID World Motorsport League. Time for another GRID World Motorsport League update, week number 38, which means there's only 4 weeks of scoring to go now. And we have news. A provisional champion has been crowned over the weekend. Congratulations to Jamie Chadwick, the 2021 W Series champion, has been top of the GRID World Motorsport League for the last few weeks. But the results of other people did not go their ways over the weekend. Shane Van Gisbergen notably not getting any victories this week at Sydney. The final Sydney round of supercars coming up this weekend before the big one at Bathurst, of course, in a couple of weeks' time. He didn't get any wins, and that means he can now not catch Jamie Chadwick at the top of the championship. Same for Max Verstappen after not winning the Brazilian Grand Prix. He can now not catch Jamie Chadwick either. So Jamie Chadwick is the 3rd GRID World Motorsport League champion and the 2021 champion. The first woman to be in the top 10, to top the standings, our rookie champion as well. So congratulations to Jamie. Big weekend we've got coming up this weekend, of course, with the Qatar Grand Prix for Formula One, the finale of WRC at Monza, with Sebastian Ogier and Elfyn Evans going head-to-head for the championship. And another head-to-head for the championship in Indonesia at World Superbike at the new Mandalika circuit. Toprak Razgatlioglu versus Jonathan Rea. That is going to be big time. And they're all surrounding those top 10 positions in the championship for us. So the GRID World Motorsport League with Toprak and Jonathan Rea in there. Sebastian Ogier on the periphery, and Shane Van Gisbergen second, with 2 250km races this weekend for supercars at SMP. So that's it then. 4 weeks to go. Jamie Chadwick is the provisional champion. She will be officially crowned after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend, which is our finale, as well as the big one really for motorsport throughout the world of the calendar year of 2021. It's our final event, so we'll officially crown her then. Guys, what do we think then? Jamie Chadwick, the 2021 GRID World Motorsport League champion.
Wow, Jamie Chadwick, the 2021 GRID World Motorsport League champion. What can I say? Jamie Chadwick is such an amazing race car driver. She's dominated the W Series in its 2 years of existence. Not really sure what's next for her racing career. If she wants to continue racing the W Series, that's certainly up to her. I feel like if she does that, she can dominate the series for years to come. But if she decides that she wants to challenge herself elsewhere, I think she should definitely go for it. Whether it's a seat in FIA Formula 3, FIA Formula 2, to try to move up the ladder system and try to get into Formula 1. Or if that doesn't work out, there's always endurance racing as well. Chadwick recently got an opportunity to test in a World Endurance Championship LMP2 car at the Bahrain circuit. So maybe endurance racing could be in her future. or if she wants to try out IndyCar, Road to Indy is available. Indy Lights program. I'm really sure Roger Penske would be glad to have her in the series. But overall, Jamie Chadwick, excellent driving this year in the W Series and in Extreme earlier in the year. Really think she has a bright future in motorsports. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, it's called. Congratulations to Jamie Chadwick. I'm becoming the first woman ever to win the grid WML title. I think that's pretty cool. And Jamie Chadwick this year had an incredible 2021 W Series championship. She and Alice Powell battled back and forth all season long. It was all said and done. Jamie took on the championship. Like you mentioned, Kobe, Jamie tested an LMP2 car at Bahrain. So I think it'd be kind of cool to see how Jamie Chadwick would do in endurance competition, especially at events like the Rolex 24 Hours Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, the Petit Le Mans, and if Roger Penske wants to give her a shot on the road to Indy, I say go for it. I mean, last time we saw a woman compete in IndyCar was Danica Patrick. So I think Jamie Chadwick should give the road to Indy at least a try. And I think it'd be kind of cool to see her racing against people like Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, Felix Rosenquist, among others in the NTT IndyCar series. If that were to happen, I think Jamie Chadwick would do really well. Who knows? Could we see? I mean, the last woman to win a race was Danica Patrick. If Jamie Chadwick were to find a way to compete in the NTT IndyCar series, could she win? Possibility.
Yes, it's been a while since we've seen a woman racing full time in the NTT IndyCar series. But if we had to pick one that could do it next, Jamie Chadwick is definitely at the top of the list, or even her championship rival, Alice Powell. No, Alice Powell's not sure if she's going to continue racing in W Series. Saw some articles online where she's considering moving her racing career to America, whether that's getting on the road to Indy or just racing in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. There's definitely a lot of talented women racing all around the world who definitely have the possibility, well, the capability of racing in IndyCar and doing extremely well. And at the top of the list is definitely Jamie Chadwick. So once again, congratulations to Jamie Chadwick for becoming the 2021 GRID World Motorsport League provisional champion. And as Matt said, after the Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, she'll become the official champion of the GRID World Motorsport League. And now switching back to NASCAR, yesterday, Roush Fenway Racing rebranded the organization as Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, aka RFK Racing. Moving forward, the graphics courtesy of the team with the NASCAR Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski becoming an owner driver at the sport's highest level. Keselowski is already hard at work, helping bring a lot of new faces to the organization, including former Chip Ganassi Racing crew chief Matt McCall, who'll serve in the same role for Keselowski's number 6 Ford Mustang. Roush had an up and down 2021 season. Chris Buescher had some good runs, but inconsistent. Ryan Newman struggled to find speed all year long, finishing a disappointing 28th in the standings. It makes you wonder why Keselowski chose to rebuild this iconic organization over staying with Team Penske, who in its current state is more likely to compete for wins on a weekly basis than Roush. Can Brad Keselowski bring back this organization to its glory days and become a powerhouse again in the NASCAR Cup Series?
I do believe so. Brad Keselowski is a former NASCAR Cup champion, and with Jack Roush's history, we've seen a lot of successful drivers compete there. Most namely, Mark Martin, who drove the number 6 car for years and years and years. He never may have won a championship, but he was very successful. So with Brad Keselowski now going to number 6 for RFK Racing, fans, you're going to see RFK Racing back in victory lane next year, and give all the Ford fans, bring back plenty of memories when Mark Martin drove that iconic number for the Cat in the Hat, Jack Roush.
I think if anybody could take Roush back to the glory days and back to being one of those powerhouse name in the Cup Series, it's certainly Brad Keselowski. As I already mentioned, Keselowski already bringing a lot of talented people over from other top Cup Series teams to this organization. Brad Keselowski certainly has a eye for talent. If you look at what he did with his Brad Keselowski race and NASCAR Camping World Truck Series operation, bringing multiple drivers to the NASCAR Cup Series and finding lots of success in NASCAR, like Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Daniel Hemrick, who just won the Xfinity Championship. So Brad Keselowski really knows what he's doing when he's looking for talent. So I'm sure on the competition side, the non-racing side, he's certainly the non yeah yeah, but in general, Brad Keselowski knows what he's doing, and he's definitely going to bring a lot to this organization moving forward. It may take a season or two to get there, but I certainly think they can do it. And who knows, they might even start off right away and show a lot more speed in 2022 than they showed last year and be more competitive. It's really hard to say since all of these teams are starting on equal footing with the new next gen car. They're going to be learning it together, getting everything. They're on track testing at Charlotte Motor Speedway this week, so it's really going to be interesting to see what it what the entire field looks like next year, and to see if RFK Racing can be competitive. And Keselowski made his RFK Racing debut in the six and testing earlier today. Many drivers getting a head start on next year with their new teams like Kurt Busch with 2311 Racing and Harrison Burton with the Wood Brothers. Today was the first day of the test, and many fans are voicing their displeasure online with the next gen car since they're trying out the 550 horsepower package with the high downforce. Adam, is it too soon to be making judgments about the car before we've even seen it in racing conditions? And is it shocking that Kyle Busch still hasn't tested the car yet?
Yeah, I think if we can at least get to the first light at the Clash, the first light Clash at the Coliseum, because that'll be the first time we see this next gen car in actual racing conditions. Then, if people want to take their displeasure about the car, then I think that'd be the best time to say it. I know it's just testing right now, so I would give the fans at least until the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum, in racing conditions, you know, to see if fans like the next gen or not. And regarding Kyle Busch now competing and testing, yeah, I am kind of shocked that he hasn't competed yet. There are a lot of teams that have competed this week. Like Hendrick Motorsports is there with all four teams. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen Kyle Rowdy Busch compete in testing, even though he just got done competing in the Nitro Rallycross event at Wild Horse Motorsports Park in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, as for the next gen car, I do think it's a little early to be making a judgment about the car. Like we haven't seen it in actual racing conditions, and we have people out there who are already writing the car off as a failure. And I do think those are knee jerk reactions. Although high downforce and less horsepower isn't what a lot of fans, at least on social media, want want to see. But in general, if you remember when NASCAR first introduced its lower horsepower, high downforce package at Las Vegas Motor Speedway just a couple of years ago, at that test session, they did like little mock races and short runs, and in those runs, the cars ran in a pack. The leader could not get away, and it really looked like a super speedway race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And then when we got to actual racing conditions, the restarts were really crazy, jockeying for position. But when the cars got spread out, it got really hard to pass. So my point is, when we first saw the footage of testing from Las Vegas, several years ago. We thought it was going to be crazy, like super speedway racing, but overall, when the car spread out, it was nothing like that and left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. So, in this situation, you might be disappointed with what you see from the next gen car, but I would advise people wait until the first several races of 2022, and then once you've seen it on the track for a little while, then you'll be able to have a better perspective of how this car is going to race. And we still have no clue what it looks like in racing conditions because practice testing versus the race is all completely different. As for Kyle Busch not testing the next gen car yet, it's really surprising to me considering that most of the Cup Series drivers, if not all but him, have tested the car at least once before. So for one of NASCAR's top drivers not to be in this car yet is definitely raises a lot of questions like why hasn't this happened yet? And we do remember when Kyle Busch infamously won his first race in the car tomorrow years ago. He famously said that he hated the car when he won. So I'm really interested to hear what he'd say after getting out of the next gen car for the first time. And also, he made those infamous comments as well, trying out the low horsepower, high downforce package. He talked about how much he hated that package, and he tired of getting asked questions by the media about that package. He said, "Don't mention the P word ever again." Yeah, so Kyle Busch definitely didn't like the package they just finished up with on the larger tracks in the Cup Series, and this one is similar. So I'm really curious to hear what Kyle Busch has to say about the next gen car. And next, switching gears to IMSA, Citalar Racing, the Italian organization that recently competed in the FIA World Endurance Championships GTEM category, they put together a program to compete for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Michelin Endurance Cup in 2022. Citalar will enter the number 47 Ferrari 488 GTE. I mean GT3. I forgot there. I forgot for a second they got rid of GTLM at the end of this year. So that GT3 car is going to be competing at Daytona, Sebring, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta with support from the factory team, AF Corsa. The team competed in this year's Rolex 24 at Daytona, running a Dallara LMP2 car. And next year, racing in GTD with drivers Antonio Fuoco, Roberto Lacorte, Giorgio Sernagiato. They're going to be going for the Michelin Endurance Cup, while the fourth driver, Alessio Rivera, will join the team for Daytona. Meyer Shank Racing's IMSA Acura DPI lineup is getting a complete makeover with two new full season drivers with Olivier Pla and Dane Cameron out. Earlier in the week, they announced the former Mazda Motorsports DPI driver Oliver Jarvis is joining the team following Mazda's DPI departure. And today, we learned he'll share the number 60 Acura with Tom Blomqvist. And there's no word he'll join Jarvis and Blomqvist for the endurance races, but don't be surprised if MSR IndyCar drivers Elio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud are in the mix.
And now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, pick a winner. And we take a look here at the standings. Kobe is on top with 40. Joe is second, and I'm third. So it's going to be interesting to see these last few weeks of the 2021 motorsport season who comes out on top. But we have a few races to choose from tonight, starting with the WRC at their season finale in Rally Monza. Kobe, I'll start with you. Who wins the season finale in Italy?
I think he's going to get the race win and also lock up the championship. Think one of the greatest World Rally Championship drivers we've ever seen, Sebastian Ogier, is going to take home the race win and the title.
Yep, I got to completely agree with you, my friend. I think Sebastian Ogier has been talented all season long, so I think he ends the season on a high, winning Rally Monza and securing the 2021 World Rally Championship title. Next, we go down under to Sydney Motorsports Park for the first Supercars race. It's a 250-kilometer event. So, Kobe, I'll start with you. Who wins race one?
Race one, since we're going to be doubling the distance this weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park, I think this is going to play in the hands of the driver who's dominated this whole season, who has one hand on the championship this weekend, could lock it up before heading to the season in Battle 1000. I'm going with the Red Bull Ampol driver. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to win race one.
Yeah, it's called to give the viewer some perspective. Shane Van Gisbergen has one hand on the Red Cross Supercar Championship, and he can clinch the championship this weekend at Sydney Motorsports Park. That's my pick for race 1. I'm going to go with his teammate, Jamie Whincup. Even though he's second in points right now, still, I think it'll be. I think Jamie Whincup takes home race 1, and I will not be in the air on Saturday due to other commitments because next Wednesday is my birthday. So, with that being said, I'm going to get my Formula One Qatar Grand Prix pick. And we've seen all year long the intense battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Well, it's a new track, and Formula One has not had any experience on it. So I'm going to go with the wild card. I think we see another shoey. I'm going with Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren winning the Qatar Grand Prix. And as for race 2 from Supercars at Sydney Motorsports Park, I'm going with Jamie Whincup's teammate, Shane Van Gisbergen. And when it's all said and done, SVG takes home the 2021 Repco Supercar Championship. And in other Supercars news, Greg Murphy and Rishi Stanaway will not be competing at the Bathurst 1000 this year due to border restrictions because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully they will get a chance to compete in 2022. And this weekend we see Brock Feeney, the talented driver in the Dunlop Super 2 series, make his return to the series before, as we all know, he hands over, as we all know, that next year he replaces Jamie Whincup at Red Bull Impel Racing. So it's time that we wrap up another edition of Grid Tonight. And here's Kobe with the closing.
Yeah, another episode of Grid Tonight in the Boom. I want to remind all our viewers out there, please like and subscribe to Grid Network here on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We encourage you to visit our Patreon page and invest in Grid Network. Big shout out to Colin, Mark, Duchelle, and Robin for joining our Patreon page. Definitely appreciate you for helping Grid Network take the next step. Be sure to check out Pablas. Please consider spoiling your furry friend. They have dog leashes, clothing, and accessories for dogs of all sizes. 10% of your purchase goes towards helping homeless, sick, and rescue dogs. Visit public.com, the stock market social media home. The link below and refer code gives you $5 to invest immediately. Public.com allows you to connect with your friends. You can make new friends and use tools to learn how to properly invest in the stock market. Do you want to buy me a coffee? Click on the link in the video description below, and you can buy a drink for your favorite on-air talent. Here at Grid Network, any amount you donate will help us continue growing our motorsports media outlet. Saturday, back on the air for Grid Live pre-race. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up, 90 minutes after the Formula One race in Qatar. And as for Grid Tonight, we're going to be taking Thanksgiving week off. And Adam will also get to celebrate his birthday next Wednesday as well. So since we won't see you next Wednesday, we want to wish you a happy early birthday, Adam. And we'll be back on the air Wednesday, December 1st. So last show, Grid Tonight, November. Been a long year. We're going to enjoy next week. And we'll be back on the air in the 1st to start off Christmas season. For Adam Lemerise, I'm Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDNET for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com. motorsports.com.